Christa Jacobson, headmistress of the Budo, where we teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai Bujutsu. And for those of you who don't know what that is, those are the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. Tonight in this video, I'm going to discuss a concept that I used this last weekend. I taught at a self-defense workshop, and it's a particular concept called even the amateur hits a pro. And while I was teaching this particular concept, I think a lot of the students that was at the workshop, they immediately went into the mindset of like, don't overestimate your skills or don't underestimate your opponent. And even though those concepts and philosophies are good, that's not exactly what I mean. So I'm kind of going to get into this particular concept tonight, and hopefully you guys learn something from it and can, add it to your martial arts training. But before I begin, if this is the first video that you guys have seen of me, again, I'm Christa Jacobson. I'm the head of the Budo, which means School of the Warrior Way. I started the Budo back in 2004. We teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, so Koryu ninjutsu, Koryu bujutsu, and we also have a really strong base in reality-based self-defense, the stuff that's really going to work. And I'm really big on that, being able to protect yourself and the ones you love, and none of the bullshit that you see in the majority of martial arts self-defense crap on YouTube and things like that. So anyway, if you guys are into traditional Japanese martial arts philosophy, and reality-based self-defense, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the little bell. That way you guys can get the notifications every time I post new videos, and I do try to get 2 to 3 videos up a week. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about this concept. So dojo's closed, everyone's in bed, and I'm going to share a few thoughts with you guys, and hopefully you guys learn something. Right, so the concept is even an amateur hits a pro. Now, before I really get in the meat and potatoes of that, I want to kind of paint a picture so we're all on the same page of where I'm coming from. I think that the majority of people can agree, right, that Floyd Mayweather is one of the best boxers of our generation. I think he's like, 59-0 or something like that. And I could be wrong with his record. Who knows what his record is? I think that's right. But anyway, we can all agree that he's one of the greatest boxers of our generation. Let's say we're going to paint this picture. There's a guy named Bob, and I always beat up on Bob, don't I? But there's a guy named Bob, and Bob's trying out for the United States Olympic team, amateur boxing. He's going to try out for the Olympic team. Now Bob goes in and he tries out for the USA Olympic boxing team, and he doesn't make it. So didn't even make that. But then out of nowhere, Bob got this offer as an amateur to have a fight against Floyd Mayweather. I know it kind of sounds like the original Rocky Balboa, doesn't it? But follow me. So Bob takes this fight against Mayweather. Do you guys really think, in any realm of reality, that Bob isn't going to hit Mayweather? He's not even going to get a shot on him. No, absolutely not. The reality is Bob's going to get lots of punches in on Mayweather. Even though Mayweather is a pro, and he's arguably one of the best at what he does in our generation. And I do want to say this because I did bring up Mayweather in this particular. I'm not a big Mayweather fan. I don't like his attitude and things like that. But I am going to give credit where credit's due. He's one of the best boxers of this generation. There's a footnote, right? Because I know a lot of people are either you love Mayweather or you hate him, right? So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. I think his attitude is terrible, but still giving him the credit for being a great boxer. Anyway, let's get back on task. So Bob is going to fight Mayweather. Bob's still going to hit him. Bob's going to hit him a lot of times. He's going to hit him a whole bunch. But the reality of Bob beating one of the greatest boxers of this generation is extremely slim. Even though he's going to go in there and he knows how to do the punches, he knows how to do the combinations, he knows how to do the counter punches and all this kind of stuff, the reality is he's not very probable to beat Mayweather. You're going to hit him. You're going to hit him hard. He might ding him up a few bit. Mayweather might even be bleeding a little bit. He ain't going to win. It's not going to happen, right? So let's use another analogy. Let's take an amateur kickboxer versus a professional kickboxer. Do you think that an amateur kickboxer would at least get some good licks on the pro? Absolutely. He's going to get in there, he's going to kick, he's going to punch, he's going to counter punch, his counter technique and all that kind of stuff. He's still going to hit him, right? So, and I think everyone can agree that even, you know, an amateur is going to hit the pro, right? So we'll take another step further. Let's go to MMA. You guys are going to see where I'm going with this. So if you get into MMA, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, and I don't really watch the show, but every now and then when I'm in, you know, it's the middle of the day or whenever it is, and I'm flipping to the channels, there's a show, I don't even know if it's still on TV because it's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's basically like, it's a UFC show, but they're all amateurs, and they're all trying to get to be in the UFC, right? If you take one of those guys, complete amateur, that's on that show, so you know, I'm not saying there's a difference between an amateur and beginner. The reason I'm using specific, I'm trying to paint a picture with amateurs being like he tried out for the Olympic team, or you know, these people that are on the UFC TV show. I want to reiterate why I'm using those examples, because I'm talking about an amateur. They're not a pro, but they're highly skilled. Someone who's skilled. Okay, they're skilled with what they do. Those people are still going to throw punches, they're still going to throw kicks, they're still going to do takedowns on an absolute professional in the UFC. The chances of winning are slim, right? But they're still going to get their shots in. So it doesn't matter whether you have an amateur boxer versus a professional boxer. The amateur boxer still going to hit him. You have an amateur kickboxer versus a professional kickboxer. The amateur kickboxer is still going to kick him, right? You have an amateur MMA person versus a professional MMA person. Still going to hit them. And when I say amateur, I'm not talking about these people who are like, I'm not talking about someone who's like, they've never taken fights. I mean like a legitimate top amateur fighter, top amateur that wants to be pro. Okay, let's paint that, because we're not talking about, you know, some dude on the back of the block who wears a tap out or blackout shirt and he goes to an MMA gym, you know, once every 3 months and he just likes to, you know, hang out with the guys. And I'm not talking about that situation, okay? So in that realm, if someone who, an amateur, can hit a pro, right? And this concept, and I think we can all agree that you get where I'm going at with that. Why is it when people teach self-defense, now you're going to see where I'm using that as a concept. Why is it when people teach self-defense and using like knife defense tactics or something like that, or stick disarms and stick defense tactics and defensive tactics and all this kind of stuff, right? Why is it that they never ever put in the concept that the other person ain't never going to get hit? Like I see some of these people on YouTube, but they're doing these knife defense techniques, and it is shit. It's like they grab them by the wrist, and they do kotegaishi, and they do all this stuff, and they never get nicked. You know what I mean? And they're doing the most stupidest shit possible, and they do, you know, ridiculous gun defense, ridiculous stick defense, ridiculous knife defense. And the reality of it is that when you're doing those concepts, you have to factor in that you're going to get hit. You can't... I don't think that people really understand that concept. I mean, I think everyone to a certain degree believes that they're going to prevail. Like everyone, I think most martial artists have this idea that if I'm in a situation, you know, I'm going to be able to do this, or I'm going to be able to do this. Really? The reality of that situation is, are you sure about that? Or do you just think you can? Because thinking something and knowing something is not the same thing. It's like if I put you on a bench press and I put 225 on the bench press. And for you guys who are new to my channel, I used to own a health club. I was a personal trainer. I used to help train bodybuilders and power lifters and things like that for competition. And so I'm really big into the world of fitness. Anyway, the majority of dudes ain't going to the gym, and the majority don't just slap on 225 and start knocking out reps. Not going to happen. So, but people who don't go to the gym, like 225 pounds, that's like my body weight, you know, I can do that. And they can't. They can't. So let's put this into perspective. So, but they always think, like in the world of fighting, oh, if you present me with something, I'm going to be able to handle it. Oh, there's a knife. I'm just going to get out of the way and grab the knife. Okay. It doesn't even make rational sense when, you know, they go and watch fights and they see each fighter beat the hell out of each other. They see kickboxers kick the hell out of each other. They see UFC people that beat the living shit out of each other. But then in the realm where a knife is presented, they're like, I'm not even going to get touched because I'm going to come up with something. But that is they're not factoring in the realism of their own level of skill. And actually, I think my last video that I shot and I made was know thyself. You know, one of the 21 rules of the samurai, the first one is know thyself. You should know yourself, know your limits. So if you get an average dude and you put him in the gym, put 225 on the bench and, you know, lift it off the bar, put it on their chest, lift it. Most people aren't lifting that off their chest. You'd be shocked at how many people come into the dojo here and you say, okay guys, let's warm up, 10 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. They can't even do 10 push-ups. They can't even push themselves off the floor. So if you can't even push your own ass off the floor, how the fuck do you plan on pushing someone bigger than you off of you? Like, where does that concept come into play, right? But the same individuals who can't push their own ass off the floor think they're going to take on the world, and then you see them do these knife techniques where it's like, oh, I guide this way and I guide this way, or a stick comes in and I just do this and then I do this, and all this absolute shit. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm all for learning base forms. I think learning base forms are great. Learning kata is a good fundamental skill. It helps with muscle memory. It helps understand concepts and strategies. So there are lots of those techniques that you see in various different traditional martial arts that I think are good to learn because it helps build fundamental principles, right? But you have to grow from that. And when you see someone saying, okay, I'm going to show you reality-based knife techniques or knife defense tactics, stick or bludgeoning or impact weapon defensive tactics, or firearm defensive tactics and things like that, and then you see them doing shit that they were probably teaching a white belt, there's no way that's good. I mean, if you're under black belt and you're doing some of these things, it's probably all right because you're probably, like I said, learning base forms. But you have to grow from that, and you have to understand when you're doing those things that are not going to work in the street, that they're not going to work in the street. The teacher shouldn't be, planting a bunch of bullshit and then expecting you to understand that that's what's going to happen on the street. It's just not going to, it doesn't work like that. And there's so many people in the martial arts, 99.9% of martial arts is bullshit. And it's not because the martial art, I think all martial arts have a place. It doesn't matter what martial art you're training in, whether it's a Japanese art or a Chinese art or whatever, right? That's not the thing. It's just that most teachers are bullshit. Most teachers sell out their art to make money. So they teach horseshit and bullshit and all this other stuff just because it brings money into the school. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, little Bobby wants a black belt, so we're going to give little Bobby a black belt. It's kind of thing. It's like there's no way that kid's ever going to be able to defeat an adult. And although I think martial arts are good for kids, but I also think, painting a false image and a false sense of I don't know what the word is, skill, and giving people false information, I think is worse, is bad. You know what I mean? And most people sell out their martial art for money, and it's bullshit. There's nothing wrong with making money doing what you love, but you shouldn't sell what you love to make money. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. So anyway, we're getting this concept where it's like an amateur versus a pro fighter. If an amateur can hit a pro, right, then how many hours a week do you think you guys train in martial arts? Anybody watching this video, put it in perspective. You go to the dojo 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, 6 hours a week. How many hours a week do you go to the dojo to train? Let's just say that you go to the dojo 1 hour a week. Just 1 hour a week. That means you're putting in 4 hours a week on average a month. 4 hours of training in martial arts. How many hours a week do you think the average thug who carries a fucking shank or a flathead screwdriver that wants to shank your ass and take your goddamn wallet for the $5 that you have, how many hours a week do you think that person actually trains taking a shank, a knife, anything, and stabbing it into something? I'm going to bet that person doesn't train at all. At all. So you're training 4 hours a month. We're just going to go with 1 hour a week. You train 4 hours a month to make sure you have a skill set to go against someone who doesn't even train at all. The only thing they have is a fucking shank, a knife, a screwdriver. That's it. That's it. And in that situation, we're painting that picture. If you really think that just because you train 4 hours a month and they don't train at all, they just got a screwdriver or whatever it is they're trying to stab you with, that they're not going to create pain, they're not going to hit you, then you're stupid. See, it's not about getting hit. It's about where you get hit. That's a secret of kamae. Like I can't speak for everyone who watched this video. I would think the majority of people who watch my video probably train in Koryu, Ninjutsu, Koryu, Bujutsu, Taijutsu, Ninpo, Taijutsu, something along those lines, Ninjutsu. But that's the secret of kamae. Kamae doesn't keep you from being hit. Kamae shields you and shields certain areas of the body to be able to continue the fight where you're not taking a lethal blow. Like, there's still going to be impact. That's why you see this Jumanji no kamae, or you're holding like this. So if you do take a shot, it's here. It's not on the inside of the wrist. It's here, right? Or the way that you position your body in certain ways. It's like, you know you're going to get hit. The concept of being hit is obvious. But are you doing it in a way that will help you prevail in a realistic self-defense situation where you have someone who's trying to physically harm you, right? So then you take that concept, then you look at some of the shit and you see people like doing, you know, some of these Ninpo schools that just focus on a certain set of skills or whatever, right? And I see these videos and it's like, the techniques they're doing is going to get them killed. Like, they're not even moving correctly. Now, I get it that no matter what everyone puts up on the internet, and I'm just being blunt, everybody, if you make videos on YouTube, there are a million haters, bottom-dwelling leeches that just like to post stupid shit. There's lots of times, like, I'll post up something that's just a damn training drill. It's not a self-defense technique. It's just people training, you know, and there's different areas of training for a reason. You want to develop muscle memory, you want to develop strength, endurance, bone conditioning, skin conditioning, all these different things. So we train in a variety of different ways for a variety of different reasons, right? But you have these people that no matter what you post, someone's going to get on there and just be a complete asshole because, you know, in our country, it's not illegal to be an asshole. So people can openly be an asshole on YouTube and say a bunch of things that are just crap. But anyway, when you think about this concept of even an amateur can hit a pro, know that. Because if an amateur boxer can hit a pro boxer, amateur kickboxer can kick a kickboxer, and an amateur UFC person can still go toe-to-toe with a pro, that doesn't mean they're going to have a chance of winning. You have to realize that you are training all your hours in martial arts to go against someone who probably doesn't train at all. But why is it so scary? It's so scary because of the intensity. That's where it's at, because the guy that was going to shank you, that guy that's trying to bring that type of, you know, violent attack towards you doesn't care. He's coming at you so fast, so hard, so violent that you have to be able to move efficiently and pragmatically in that situation. And if you can't, you're done. It's just like that. If you're not trained to do that, you're done. Just like that. And the crap thing is, the majority of martial arts, they don't train the student to be effective in that. I know people who train and they literally go from, you know, hardcore training to soft bullshit just because it helps them get money. And then they try to sell their students on the crap. And I never really understood the concept, because how do you tell students that we're going to do something easier and it's still going to work? Right? So when is that ever? Let's think about that. So in what realm of life does that work? If you guys can answer that shit, put in the comment section. Like if you want to be a bodybuilder, right? You want to lift and you do all these exercises. If you want to do that, then you do that. But can you like not lift heavy weights and get big muscles? Can you not lift heavy and do powerlifting, bench press, deadlift, power clean? Can you not do that kind of shit and then go to a strongman competition? I mean, can you go do Taibo and cardio kickboxing 2 hours a week and then all of a sudden compete and with the best physiques in the world at Mr. Olympia? Fuck no. There's no way you can do this little shit and then expect to compete at that level. You can't. There's no way possible you can sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to go to the class 2 hours a week, and, you know, I'm never going to get damn, you know, breathe heavy a little bit, hit the bags, and, you know, a bunch of shit. And then when it comes down to the situation where someone's going to put a fucking knife on your throat, you're just going to prevail. Because, you know, doing something easy is going to save your ass. It's ridiculous. You know, only I say this every fucking time I make a video, but you know, you are the only one that can make yourself successful in everything. You are responsible for your own success. Nobody else is. You either get off your ass and get it done, or you don't. If you don't have intensity into your training program, you need to add intensity to your training program. And that starts with solo training. Yes, you should have intensity when you're doing sparring, when you're doing group training, when you're doing hands-on drills, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But if you can't even be intense through solo training, bag drills, pushing yourself, powerlifting, you know, your strength and strength conditioning, your cardiovascular conditioning, your core conditioning, you know, hitting the heavy bag and going full out. If you can't even do it by your damn self, you're not going to be able to do it with a training partner, and you have no chance in hell of doing it with someone who's trying to hurt you. But again, because there's a process. Here you are. If you can't be intense by yourself, there's no way you're going to be intense with a training partner, because you're adding more resistance. Yeah? So if you're adding more resistance, if you can't do it here, you're not going to do it here. If you can't bench press 185, you're not bench pressing 225. And if you can't do that, you sure as shit ain't going to do it when shit it's a fucking fan. And you can catch the concept. But, you know, and that gets down to that idea of like, even the amateur hits a pro. So you can put in all the hours and you can learn all the terminology, you can buy all the damn books, you can do all this crap, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the skills to back up what the fuck it is that you're talking about, you don't have the skills to back up what the fuck it is that you're talking about. And even an amateur can hit a pro. And for someone who's only training 4 hours, you know, 4 hours a month, right? If you're only training 4 hours a month, that's 48 hours, roughly, a year, compared to the guy that has a screwdriver that doesn't train at all. That dude just wants to hurt you because he's violent. His profession is crime. His profession and what he does is he hurts people for money. That's what he does. And if you can't match that intensity, you're fucked. You know? And you know, I just find it amazing how you see, now we get back to this, how do you factor that into self-defense? The reason I use that as an example is because someone has a knife and they're coming after you. If you really think that the person holding the knife is never going to hit you with that knife, then you live, you know, you and I don't see reality in the same realm. Yeah. And you know, and obviously, and maybe you haven't seen violence like I've seen it. Maybe that's true. You know, can't speak for all of you guys. Can't speak for any of you, but I've seen it, and it's nasty. It's brutal. It's ugly. And if you guys don't train correctly, you know, you're gonna get really hurt. And training, and you can train at a school for 4 hours a week, but if you're not training correctly, then it doesn't matter. You're gonna train in horse shit and bullshit, ain't gonna matter. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It looks pretty though. Looks great. You know what I mean? They always like, oh, you see these, you know, and I've made videos about this too. The people that hop, skip, go to all these different organizations, all that bullshit. I'm not gonna get into that, but I will say that it does look better. You know, you're like, oh my God, look at that. And they've got the nice uniforms. Everyone has the nice uniforms, and everyone has the hats that match and the shirts that match and the gi that matches and nice embroidery, hakama, and all this stuff. And look at this and all that kind of stuff. It looks so good, right? It is true. It is. The grass is greener on the other side. And the reason the grass is greener on the other side, because they fertilize with bullshit. And here I am with a fucking garden hose just giving you water. Just letting you, this is how you survive. You know what I mean? It's not as pretty. It just works. You know? But anyway, I can only express my opinion. It's my yen. It's free. My 2 yen. It's free. So take it for what it's worth. I'm sure there's a shit ton of other people on the internet tell you how bad I am and all that kind of stuff, and that's what it is. But anyway, the concept of even an amateur can hit a pro. Think about that. You know, think about that. Because if you don't actually think about that and add that concept that, you know, even this guy that don't train, he has a screwdriver, he could still really hurt me. If you don't put the reality of how that person can seriously hit you, even if you're training lots of hours a month. I mean, an amateur boxer is still going to hit a pro. If you seriously don't think, and you're not training for that, you're not training in the mindset that this dude that has no training still can attack me, well, then maybe you should reconsider your training. So anyway, there's my video tonight. Thank you guys very much for all of the love and support. If you guys are interested in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, check out the links below. Don't forget to follow me on all my social media. I would appreciate that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please click the bell. That way you guys can get the updates every time I give one. Try to put up 2 to 3 a week. If you guys are interested in training, if you see my website and you're interested in what it is that we do, but you don't live next to one of our schools, we do offer an online ninjutsu dojo to all you haters out there that like to talk about online training. Even Harvard and Yale offer online classes, so it's not that you can't get information over a video, okay? So stop with that bullshit. But for those of you guys who are interested and you don't live next to one of my schools, training with the school that's going to help you, even if it's online, training in the school that's going to help you, and you train with them online, that's better than training in a bullshit school that's not going to help you at all. Remember, knowledge is lightweight and you can take it anywhere you go. So thank you guys again for all your love and support. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, take care, be safe, and good luck in your journey of Budo. Bye.